Yo, Julius, this is your girl Raven Chapman, the Omen. Just want to give you a big shout out here from the UK. Ring IQ, you're the man. Thanks so much for your support.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news. Ow!
Okay, we'll start with this per tweet from International Boxing News. Unbeaten up-and-comer from the United Kingdom and one of my personal favorites, Raven Chapman. Will take on former IBF Super Flyweight champion Jorgelina Guanini on the undercard of Joe Joyce versus Joseph Parker in Manchester on September 24th. It's a huge step up in class.
It is.
A huge step up in competition for Raven, to say the least. Raven has only had 3 professional bouts, you understand, and only fought once under the Queensberry Promotions banner. She recently signed 2.
Jorgelina Guanini's coming off that win over then unbeaten Stevie Levy.
And the difference in class, the difference between them was glaring to say the least. Jorgelina Guanini just beat one unbeaten up-and-comer. Will she beat another in Raven Chapman?
That's no knock on Stevie Levy. I think it took a lot of heart for Stevie to decide to fight someone as experienced as Jorgelina.
And I think the same rings true when it comes to Raven. Raven, who's only got 3 professional bouts, no losses, no draws with 2 knockouts. I will say Raven Chapman, to the eye, seems to have a higher ceiling than Stevie Levy. For what it's worth, even though they both in the beginning stages of their careers, Raven Chapman seems a more put-together fighter.
Unlike Stevie Levy, Raven Chapman is a southpaw, whereas Stevie's an orthodox fighter.
Raven's a southpaw, an athletic one, and seemingly, at least to the eye, so far, she's a strong puncher with some hand speed mid-range to inside.
Though still a novice in the pro ranks, sporting a professional record of 3 wins, no losses, and no draws to Jorgelina's record of 10 wins, 4 losses, and 2 draws with 1 knockout.
It's a dangerous fight, make no mistake. It's a dangerous fight for Raven Chapman. It's not a foregone conclusion that she wins, though to the eye, she is seemingly a more put-together fighter with a higher ceiling than the fighter that Jorgelina Guanini just fought, than the fighter Jorgelina just beat, unbeaten Stevie Levy.
Now she's set to face unbeaten Raven Chapman, who was last in action in May of this year in what was her Queensberry Promotions debut.
Raven Chapman, the glorious Raven Chapman, the powerful, technical, physical Raven Chapman, debuted as a professional in September of last year. She will be taking on Jorgelina in September of this year, and in that way, this fight is set to go down approximately 1 year to the date that Raven debuted as a professional.
This will be Raven's 2nd fight this year and her 2nd fight as a Queensberry Promotions fighter overall.
This will be Jorgelina Guanini's 3rd fight this year, her 3rd fight. She kicked off this year dropping a decision to unbeaten Ellie Scotney, who, like Raven Chapman, only had 3 professional fights under her belt at that time. Jorgelina started off this year dropping a decision to Ellie, getting back in the winner's bracket with Stevie in April, and she's set to return to action against Raven in September.
Maybe that's why they think Raven's ready for this. If Ellie Scotney could beat Jorgelina with just 3 pro bouts under her belt, maybe they figure Raven can do the same.
And maybe she can, though there are differences between Raven Chapman and Ellie Scotney. Ellie Scotney is a more cerebral, finesse fighting kind of fighter, back foot friendly.
More boxer than puncher, with very good in and out game and a good balance of both offense and defense.
Whereas the illustrious Raven Chapman, for the most part, seems an offensive fighter. Offense does seem to be her strong suit. I don't think her defensive prowess has been tested, not yet. Raven Chapman is 28 years old, a very spry 28 years old to Jorgelina Guanini, who's 30.
Experience obviously has to go to the former champion Jorgelina Guanini,
who is 2 years older than Raven Chapman, though she's no old lady. Raven's got hand speed, mid-range to inside. She's a very educated combination puncher that seems to have concussive power. She can really hurt a girl if she can land those punches, if she can land those shots. However, this will be the first time that she's fighting somebody that can really fight back. As Jorgelina Guanini, she's pretty good offensively herself.
I know she already has 4 losses in her resume, but she's no journeywoman.
She's more of a gatekeeper than a journeywoman. You don't go in there with Jorgelina Guanini just to get some rounds in the bank. She's going to push you. She's going to test you. And in September, on the undercard of Joe Joyce versus Joseph Parker, she's going to test Raven Chapman.
I feel like this fight might have a different aesthetic to the Ellie Scotney fight, because Ellie Scotney elected to box Jorgelina Guanini, and that worked.
I don't know for sure that Raven Chapman won't elect to do the same thing. I don't know that she will. I don't know that she won't decide to meet Jorgelina head on.
Both Raven and Jorgelina have a mean streak. They like to punch. They like to squabble.
And they both happen to have the same sweet spot. That's mid-range to inside. Neither one of them are long-distance, long-range fighters. They like to fight in the phone booth. They like to stay in the pocket.
Who's going to dominate it? That's the question. The novice professional boxer with a high ceiling or the former champion?
With all of the experience on her side. We'll talk more about this fight as the fight date approaches, but on the face of it, I like it. It's ballsy. It's gutsy. It's Raven Chapman.
This one goes out to Derek the Shithouse Chisora. You're running, Derek, from the trilogy. Call yourself War, but you should call yourself Chicken. Because you're running from a trilogy from a career highest payday. Get the fucking contract signed, stop being a shithouse. Massive announcement to make to the world. Isaac Lowe will be my next trainer for my next fight against Derek Chisora.
Get ready for it and watch for something special.
You're going to see the best version of me. It's been a while, but we're back.
It's been less than a year.
Why have you decided to come back to boxing? And why have you chosen Isaac Lowe to be your coach?
Well, Andy, I've decided to come back to boxing because I can be the first heavyweight champion in history to have two trilogies, one with Deontay Wilder and the second one with Derek Chisora. I always said I'd fight Derek Chisora at the end of my career, and here we are, breaking all records again, setting precedents. And why I've chosen Isaac Lowe as my trainer is because when I was with Peter, Isaac was there. When I was with Ben, Isaac's always been there. And when I was with Sugar Hill, Isaac's always been there. He's always given me information. He knows me better than anybody on the planet. And we're a great team. We've always been together, and we're going to finish this out together. We've always worked very well together, and here we are, about to take on a massive, massive, massive event. Isaac?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's a new challenge for me, and I think, listen, I've been with you all your career, and I think I can put something new together, so looking forward to it. And it's a tough task, but something to look forward to go forward.
Boom. Me and Isaac's been brainstorming all morning after a great training session. This fight with Chisora should be in Manchester, in my opinion, at United Football Ground.
Definitely, because obviously he's the king and he's returned. He's already been back in London, so it's only right he comes back to his hometown in Manchester, and nowhere else better than Manchester United Football Ground. So it's the theatre of dreams, and the king coming back. So
come on!
It's very hard to know what the hell's going on here. What's been going on for the last couple of days, as Tyson Fury had reportedly made his trilogy fight offer to Derek Chisora via Golden Star Promotions, the company that puts on his speaking event tours. If they can reach a deal, could have, I should say, the aim was for December at the Principality Stadium in Cardiff.
At which point Tyson Fury had a change of heart and wanted to do it in Manchester?
Approximately 145 miles away. People don't know if they should take this talk from Tyson Fury seriously. Didn't know because nobody was asking for a Derek Chisora trilogy. Nobody was asking for a third fight, though he seemed quite determined to get one. Bob Arum was asked if Tyson really was in talks for that Chisora trilogy, and Bob said,
Of course not. Nothing. What are we, crazy? Everybody's waiting for the Alexander Usyk versus Anthony Joshua fight, and then we'll explore whether or not it's feasible to do the complete unification.
where Bob Arum completely dismissed the idea that there was any kind of dialogue between the Tyson Fury people and the Derek Chisora people. Reportedly, an offer was made to Derek Chisora, but not by Top Rank and not by Queensberry Promotions, Golden Star, who holds Tyson Fury speaking events. The offer came from them, and it must have been some kind of an offer, at least a real offer, albeit not one that Derek wanted, because both Derek Chisora himself and Eddie Hearn acknowledged that an offer was made.
Whether or not it was a good faith offer, a serious offer intended to really get Derek in the ring?
That's the bit of it that's open to interpretation, though they did send him something.
Tyson, stop talking shite, mate. Phone mommy and daddy. Mommy's Frank Warren. Daddy is fucking Bob Arum. Tell them you want to hang out with me, okay? And send me the paperwork, bitch.
They did send Derek something, some kind of an offer, though not a substantial enough offer to get his attention, to get him in the ring. According to Eddie Hearn, the offer, whatever it was far lower than they would have expected from Tyson Fury. So whether or not it was a serious effort, an earnest offer, an earnest effort to get him in the ring, your guess is as good as mine. It's open to interpretation.
But he did send him something, and now the story is that the Derek Chisora trilogy is unlikely.
Now, I don't know what Tyson Fury is doing here aside from making his presence felt by way of social media, and the timing is impeccable because he always seems to do this when Anthony Joshua's got a fight coming up. It's not a coincidence that Tyson Fury seems to be going out of his way to have people write stories about him, make headlines at a time when the news is really focused on Anthony Joshua and his upcoming rematch with Alexander Usyk.
The fluff, the bullshit is centered around Tyson Fury's sporadic behaviors.
But the real fight news in the fight game, at least at heavyweight, is centered around Anthony Joshua's rematch with Alexander Usyk.
The sporadic stuff, the kid stuff, the fluff, the bullshit, that's what Tyson Fury's putting out there.
Nobody knows if this guy's serious or not, if these are serious inquiries, hard inquiries, serious endeavors to get these guys in the ring, like Derek Chisora, more recently, Thor Bjornsson.
Constant here is that these are names that Tyson Fury was throwing around before. Derek Chisora for a third fight, Thor Bjornsson, Francis Ngannou.
You know where we are, guys? Iceland. And you know what we're doing here? We're looking for Thor. Come out and fight like a man. So we came to Iceland to fight Thor. He's not here. So now, Thor, if you want any smoke from the Gypsy King, you're going to have to come to Morecambe Bay and find me. Thor, considering you're not here and you've left Iceland to me, I am the new Viking. I own this place now. It's mine. So, Dad, we're the new Vikings round here, aren't we?
We've run them out of town, haven't we, son?
Spence, what's gone on?
We've come a long way. We've come all the way to Iceland, and guess who's not here? This big 6'9" giant Thor the Viking
Has fucked off.
fucked off to where is it? Paris.
Now, boys, welcome to Iceland.
And that's what you call a beer.
Ragnarsson. Go on, Spence.
I'm currently in Rome filming a movie, loving life, and guess what? Tyson Fury is in Iceland. He tried to find me, couldn't find me because apparently I'm not there. But Tyson, if your team is serious, if you're serious about fighting me, have your team send me a contract, let's get serious, and I'll find you. I'll come to you. I'll find you. No worries.
I'm not sure that Hafthor realizes what kind of spastic, infantile contradictorian he's dealing with here as he questions whether or not Tyson Fury is serious. Well, if this were a serious inquiry, a hard inquiry, one would have thought that he wouldn't have to go all the way to Iceland to drink their beer.
This ain't the fucking Stone Age. If you want to get in contact with this guy, you ain't got to go to Iceland. You give his people a call, you set something up. He's not hard to find. He's about 6'9".
You know a lot of guys 6'9" built like Hafthor named Hafthor. The way I see it, Tyson Fury is...
I feel like he's trying to draw people's attention, trying to deliberately make headlines and draw attention to himself to make himself the focus.
I don't think Hafthor realizes what kind of an infantile individual Tyson Fury is, but Derek does. Derek knows all about Tyson Fury, and that's why he told him, if he's serious, you get Frank or Bob to send an offer, not Golden Star Events.
Because until you get Frank or Bob to send an offer, you're not serious.
Why would he be? Is there even a market in the United Kingdom for a Fury versus Chisora trilogy? That's why I didn't bother with any of this stuff when it was going on.
Fury's mental health is mental healthing. That's all this is.
And finally, addressing a rather pea-brained individual that left me a set of comments in my previous upload in reference to how George Kambosos Jr.'s rematch clause is blocking a Lomachenko versus Haney fight,
and how at least one content creator is spreading a lot of misinformation in reference to that subject.
Reference to that fight, the content creator being Boxing He-She, who would have you believe that Vasyl Lomachenko is avoiding Devin Haney to fight in a tune-up fight when Devin Haney's not available for Vasyl Lomachenko.
He's not available to fight Vasyl Lomachenko because he has to fight George.
To that, a morbidly obese individual that goes by the name Billy-dee said, hating on anything boxers, YouTubers, etc., anything gets that extra scrutiny and disrespect.
Essentially what this guy's trying to do is lay a guilt trip.
Misappropriating a real issue in order to use it to fly a false flag and then expecting complete strangers online to salute it.
That ain't gonna work.
Leaving heartfelt comments like, look how they all respond. More insults, no sensitivity, denial, and name-calling. It says everything about who you are. I came to check this channel out in earnest. I call out your racist views and targeting a black YouTuber. You all dig in and double down, no matter what you claim. These are the known tactics and talking points of suspected white supremacists.
Suspected supremacists have rematch clauses.
Wouldn't that make Deontay Wilder a man from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, a white supremacist, since he had a rematch clause in the second Tyson Fury fight that led to a third.
Let's stop fucking around. Let's not waste each other's time.
In short, Mr. Billy-dee can't address the facts. He can't hope to retort or rebuttal anything that was mentioned in that video in reference to what's really going on and how some content creators like to
lie about this stuff for clicks.
Content creators like Boxing Hishi, who would have you believe that Vasyl Lomachenko is avoiding a Devin Haney fight when Devin Haney's not actually available to fight him. He has to fight George.
George has a rematch clause, remember?
I Am Billy-dee doesn't like that I'm pointing this out. He believes that I'm supposed to give Boxing Ego amnesty and not point out the lies that he tells based on the color of Boxing Ego's skin.
He believes that Boxing Hishi, among others, is supposed to get special treatment on that premise.
He is trying very hard to make this a racial issue where it's not a racial issue at all, and at no point in that video was race or ethnicity even brought up. Not up until he left those rather absent-minded comments, attempted to fly those false flags, expecting
strangers online to salute them and elicit silence.
Elicit silence by way of a taboo issue in this country. Race relations in America and racial issues as a whole when George Kambosos Jr.'s rematch clause isn't a racial issue.
And while race relations in America is a real issue, that has fuck all to do with George Kambosos, Devin Haney, or Vasyl Lomachenko.
And it has fuck all to do with content creators propagating narratives for clicks, regardless of what their pigment is or where they're from.
You often hear it said that a rose by any other name is still a rose.
The same logic applies to a liar. A liar by any other name, race, creed, or ethnicity is still a liar.
Because you don't like that I'm pointing that out, you hope to lay a guilt trip.
A guilt trip in order to elicit silence on my part, though I'm not guilty of any of the things you're talking about.
You can't lay a guilt trip for somebody that ain't guilty.
It's pathetic. And I don't highlight these behaviors from Mr. I Am Billy-dee in order to help him, as he's too stupid to be helped. He has the attention span of the common housefly and the reasoning skills of a toddler.
This is tantamount to a tantrum he's throwing when the facts don't stack up the way he wants them to.
He shits the bed, throws toys out the pram.
I'm not pointing out I Am Billy-dee's behaviors to help him because he can't be helped.
Oh, he seeks refuge in pretending to be a freedom fighter of some kind, seeks refuge in attempting to speak for a group when he's acting as an individual, and his individual views are his alone.
You don't fucking speak for everybody.
There are several individuals that took in that same video, left comments under it, and they didn't arrive to the morbid conclusions that I Am Billy-dee did.
This is just a case of a guy who doesn't want to be wrong.
An individual who, when he cannot combat the facts that you provide, he will then try to alter the way that you are viewed so that your facts are not heard.
A pathetic and childish individual.
Limited intellect does not allow him to see the error of his ways, as all he really aspires to do is pass himself off to be a victim of some kind, flying false flags he expects strangers to salute.
This is not about helping this guy.
A guy like this can't be helped. What this is really all about is pointing out what these very morbid individuals are willing to resort to when the facts don't stack up the way they want them to.
Pigment does not provide amnesty for a lack of character.
Piece of shit.